Welcome to Intro to Programming. This course will use a program called Alice to help you learn the basics of programming a computer. To access Alice, go ahead and double-click on the Alice icon on your desktop. Make sure you only double-click on it once. Alice may take a few minutes to load, and if you continue to click on it, it will open multiple copies and it will slow down your computer. So only double-click once and then wait. This is your Alice welcome screen. Every time you open Alice, you will get this pop-up window. This window is where it allows you to choose one of the 6 standard templates to start a world. It will also allow you to access tutorials, worlds that you've recently accessed, created, or viewed, examples of Alice worlds, worlds you'll need for doing your textbook assignments, and the ability to open worlds that you've already created. If you do not want this window to pop up, you uncheck the box down here at the bottom where it says Show this dialog at Start. I do not recommend that. Once you've chosen your template, go ahead and click on Open. Before we start using the Alice interface, there's one thing that you do need to do. If you click on Edit and then Preferences, you can choose where your Alice files are going to go. Prior to starting this tutorial, you should have created a folder on your computer called Intro to Programming. What you want to do now is make sure that your Alice programs are saved to that folder automatically. Make sure you're on the General tab, then click on Browse. Once you're in Browse, go into your Documents and into your Intro to Programming folder. Go ahead and click on that and then tell it Set Directory. And when you're done, the last thing on here should say Intro to Programming. Once that's set up, go ahead and click on OK. This is the Alice user interface. The first thing you should know is that all of these windows are resizable. All you have to do is click and drag. The first window that we're going to talk about is the World window. This is the main window right here where you set up your world. You can also change your camera angles by using the buttons below it. When you're ready to add objects to your world, you click on the green Add Object button and that will take you to the gallery. From the gallery, you can go into each of the areas and choose what you want. Once you've added your object, you can move them around by using the buttons up here to allow you to move them up and down, spin it around, rotate it, tumble it, make it bigger, duplicate it. You can also use the quad view where you can see it from the front or from the regular view, from the top, from the right, and from the front. That view will be especially important when you're trying to stack objects. When you're done, click on Done and your object is added. If you notice, when we added an object into the World window, we also added Chicken over into this section. This is your object tree. The object tree lists everything that is in your world. Every world starts with at least a camera, light, and ground. If we don't have light, we can't see what's going on. If we don't have a camera, we can't see what's going on. And if you don't have ground, your objects are just floating in space. Some of your objects will have a plus sign next to it. When you click on that, it takes you down further. Some objects have multiple parts that you can manipulate. If you notice, we're clicked on Chicken right here. Now if we go down to the Details window, it says Chicken's Details. This tells us information about the property of the chicken, the things that the chicken can do, and functions. We will get to using functions later on in this course. In Methods, it shows us the things that a chicken can do. It can move, it can turn, it can roll. If I click on chicken and then chicken's left leg, you notice it changed from chicken to left legs detail, and now we see the left leg can move, it can turn, it can roll, it can resize. We can go down to the foot, parts of the beak, the head, the neck. So you can control many parts of your objects independently, and that will be necessary when you're doing things like making an object walk, pick things up, swing a bat, anything that's going to require manipulation of individual body parts or portions of a object, you will need to drill down. When you're done with that, just click on the minus sign and it makes it all go away. So now we have our world window, our object tree, our details area. The next area I want to talk about is the editor. The editor is where you're going to do most of the writing of your program. If you notice up here at the top, there is a tab that says World, My First Method. Every world that you create will start with one of these, and to begin with, that's all we're going to be programming in. As we get further advanced, you'll notice more and more tabs coming up as you create more methods. In this case, we just want to tell our chicken to walk forward and maybe make a sound. So if I tell it to chicken to move, I just click and drag. When it turns green, it means I can release it. When it's red, I don't want to. So green chicken, I want it to move forward 1/2 meter. Then I want the chicken to play a sound. And then let's make the chicken say goodbye. Now that I have this, how do I make it play? Well, that's where the last section comes into, which is your event editor, and appears right up here. The event editor is what tells Alice what to do stuff and when. In this case, we already have a standard when the world starts, do World My First Method. That tells Alice when you press the play button to do whatever is in the tab My First Method, which is right here. You can create new events to make it so that when you move an arrow, click on a button. When you use the mouse, there are many, many different things that you can use to tell it to do things. This is also what you will change when we get into creating our own methods and we just want to test an individual method. You have to change this to the other methods that you'll have. We'll learn more about that later. So I want to find out if my chicken did what I told it to do. To do that, I click on the play button. In my play window, I can speed things up. Okay. I can restart, I can stop, and I can pause. I can also resize my window, and I can close it down. Those are the basic things that you need to know to get started with Alice. Just remember, when you're playing with Alice, you can't break anything. You're not going to break your computer. You might mess up your program, but if you're saving it repeatedly, using your undo button, things like that, you'll always be able to go back to the point where it worked correctly. That's part of debugging a system. So go ahead and take this time, get used to Alice, play around with it, see what's in the object galleries, see what the different methods do. You know, break down your objects into parts and see what happens when you roll an arm or you turn a head. Go ahead and play with it. This ends your introduction to Alice.